Oh. All right. So we want to outline the difference between preemptive scheduling and non-preemptive scheduling. We want to outline the difference. Anybody want to share this one? What is preemptive scheduling and what is non-preemptive scheduling? Okay, preemptive scheduling is where this is where the process can be stopped, right? The process being executed can be stopped so that another process can be given the CPU to execute. Whereas non-preemptive is where a process is not, right, so does not give up the processor until it is finished. So there are no interrupts in a non-preemptive scheduling system, right? In a preemptive scheduling system, an interrupt could stop the process, or that process could run out of time and it has to pause, whereas in a non-preemptive system, the process does not give up the processor until it's finished with it. So let's go on to the next question. We have some states ready running on blocks that the main states that the process move through in modern computer operating systems. So what activity occurs when the process moves through each of the following states? If a process goes from ready to running, what does it mean? It means that the process what? The process has all the resources needed to run, and it has been given access to the CPU. If we go from running to ready, what might cause a process to go from running to ready? Okay, a process in execution runs out of time in a round robin environment. A process in execution runs out of time in a round robin environment, or an interrupt was or an interrupt stops the currently running process. Running to blocked. So if a process is currently in execution, so a process is currently in execution and it requires a resource or IO that is not readily available. Then it goes
But
from running.
I was gonna say that it could be with a deadlock. That's a proper term, right? Deadlock.
For running to blocked?
Yeah.
No, in a deadlock system, we don't have preemption. Because remember, one of the ways that we would deal with deadlock is to stop the process or kill the process that might be causing the deadlock. So, right, it might be that we don't have we don't have some scheme of dealing with that thing that seizes up the system. And blocked already would be the process that was waiting for a resource or IO, a process that gets its request and is now back into the queue to be processed. Okay. Everybody's fine with these?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Cool. Right. It must be nice to be a student. I mean, like, literally, all you get to do is sit down and listen to your teacher and then be like, oh, yes, sir. No, sir. Yes, sir. Because I would start off each question like a process, P5, has been interrupted by another process with a higher priority. Briefly describe the sequence of steps that the operating system will execute to allow P2 and P5 to run to completion. There is only one processor. And then I would say, anybody wants to walk me through the series of steps that would allow P2 and P5 to run to completion? And everybody then says,
No, sir.
and you all at least talk this time. Normally you all take fire.
So,
Yeah.
hold on, the thing blocking. Okay. So wouldn't so the running process is P5, right? Because P2 is of a higher priority. So
Yeah.
P5 would be going from running to blocked. No, running to ready.
Right. So P5 state changes from running to ready. And then what?
And then P2 state, P2 state would be changed from ready to running.
Right.
And after P2 is finished, I think, then P5
P2 runs to completion.
right, P2 completion, and then P2 run goes from from running to ready, and
What?
then P5 would go back from ready to running.
Wait. Repeat what you said just now.
Oh, I said
You said
P2
P2
goes from
runs to
running to ready,
completion.
but it already run to completion. Okay, so
Right.
P5 would go from ready back to running.
Right. Goes from ready to running. It gets the processor. And then P5 runs to completion. Okay. See,
Yes,
that
sir.
wasn't so bad. Right. I'm sure everybody had fun there. Yeah. No. Right. I don't think that I couldn't believe actually that some people did not grab all 5 marks in this question. All right. See, Alexis having the time of her life. Okay. Best thing that happened since since the state of emergency get called, I suppose. From
And
class
extended
starting
for
now.
3 months. Yay.
Huh? Hey.
And
They
extended for
say
3 months.
they say up to 3 months, yeah? So it doesn't necessarily have to last, but it all depends on, whether Trinidadians donkey the domain. So,
They do me.
all right. So we have P0 and P1. P0 holds R0 and P1 holds R1. Right? R1 is requested by P0 and R0 is requested by
P1.
P1. So, right? Yeah, Stefan is actually correct. If it is that you don't like people, then you must be having the time of your life right now.
I
Right?
feel like it's like somebody though, like jeez. You don't like anybody? You don't like anybody ever?
Oh, yeah. Collins and Alexa is disagreeing with that. My thing is, I just want to be able to stand up and teach again. See, just sitting down and teaching, this is killing my back. It had me all fat and all kind of thing. This just not working out for me. So,
So you don't stretch after each class?
I try to, but laziness. Laziness is like it's like it's like a snowball. It could start off small, and then once you just keep doing one lazy thing, it'll just be worse and worse. So no, I had to change my whole configuration because of how I in front of the computer and all of that, and I could probably get a setup for it, but then I'll feel like a mad person here by my desk standing up and teaching. So I mean nobody watching me to judge me, but got my little children, but all right. So let's discuss how the deadlock occurs, right? So in this scenario, right, P1 holds the resource R1 and P2 holds the resource, not P2, P0 holds the resource R0. Each wants the resource that each other has, and neither wants to give up the resource that it holds. So we kind of have a hold and wait scenario here. We're holding on to what resources that we get, even though we don't have everything, and we're waiting to see what we could get. But if another person is Harriet, you all bully me. So what you think? They of course, little children could be very mean. So weird. Alright. No, they don't test Harriet. I just play. Alright. But about them, not you guys. You all are very human.
You don't have
What
to
was
pick up
that?
with your kids. It's okay.
Yeah.
Everybody, let me know.
I sure enough while they here to do the parents all kind of thing. So wait, look it's the Shania tuna. Alright. It's just an endless cycle. An endless cycle, Hey, are you all aware that from next term they've added more stuff to the syllabus? Like, I mean, you all are getting away.
So as in for the next set that come in?
Yeah, put in a couple topics like databases and thing in the comp sci syllabus.
Ew. That's tough for them.
Well, I mean, and they'll be going off to university and they'll have to learn it anyway too. So, you
So
know.
Yeah, I
some
IT,
of
so
them
it doesn't matter.
some
You
of them
what?
extra subjects would be nice to do, like I see game design and all kind of thing. All kind of subjects I didn't know they had law. They had something electrical and something engineering. I was like, what? People doing this?
Yeah. Well, I mean, the thing is to get source people who can teach it. So, you know. And I mean, y'all could always learn it. As I say, UTT is not the only UE is not the only option. Like if you want to go and learn electrical and stuff, you can go UTT and learn it. The programs are actually quite good. Okay. Alright, so don't limit yourself. Alright, so state 2 advantages and 2 disadvantages of the command line over GUI. Alright. Let me hear. I haven't heard whose voice in a really long time. Shania. Shania, I haven't
So
heard your
I
voice
did
in.
not answer this question on my
Oh,
paper.
well, here's your chance to redeem yourself. Well, I'll tell you.
I did not answer it for a reason.
Come
Okay,
on,
so
is
state two
yeah.
advantages on the set. Command.
What are
Um,
some advantages of a GUI?
so I really don't know. I know if it was the other way around, asking for graphical over command line, I would have known. That's why I had problems with this question.
Okay. All right. So an advantage of the
So
command line over.
command line is
Mhm.
faster
Right. Okay. Yeah. So you can.
and there's greater manipulation over the system, greater
Right.
control.
So yeah. So a command line
So it's faster if
could
the user is
allow, yes, experienced users to navigate and control their systems faster than a GUI. And what's the next thing? Allows for
Greater control over the system.
more explicit command and control and greater control over the system than a GUI. All right, so what is the disadvantage of the command line? Shania, you could give me that one though.
So it is not good for inexperienced users, well, novices.
Right, so it's hard to learn and use
Commands.
for non-users. Mm-hmm.
I guess in the way comparing to graphical, it has menus and stuff, so it's easier to use. So I
Good,
don't know.
good, good. What do you mean, like graphical is all right? Well, hard
It
to learn
this.
and use to novices. It's kind of broad, so we could actually break
Mhm.
that down into multiple things, right? So like commands could be difficult to understand, right? And then navigating the system could be difficult as there are no icons or visual folders, things like that. Okay? So if you want to break it down a little more than just simply saying hard to learn and use for novice users. Because there's right? Yeah.
So and it's have a lot of oh wait, well, yeah, it's kind of
So
broad because I was gonna say it have a lot of
right.
commands for command line.
Right. So, like, yeah, and Colin is saying one wrong line of code could disrupt operations. There's this line that's infamous in Linux, which is rm rf or something so root. See this line here? This line here could destroy, this line here cost a guy his business. You could, if you Google this, you'll probably see that story. There's a guy who was looking to learn how to do some stuff on his Linux system. And he posted a forum and like a troll tell him to enter that into the terminal and put in his password. And that actually wiped out his whole business. Because what this is that this is sudo means this is the highest permission level in the system. RM is removed. /R means recurring and /F means forcefully. And this here is the root of your hard disk. So what it means is that wipe without having to get a second, without having to get like a second,
like a prompt to say whether or not you're
Like,
sure you want to do that.
Yeah, it will remove everything from the root of your hard disk right down to the innermost food. So, once you run this on the system,
secondary
that's it.
verification. Yikes.
Huh? No, well, that's to tell you how powerful. Like in Linux, like if you are an administrator and you want some files to move, and you say remove the files, or you say move the files, and the system protests and tell you, okay, those files can't be moved because they're being used by another application. And you say, no, I want it to be removed, and you put the forcefully tag, then it doesn't care, especially when you have the sudo permission. Once you have that sudo permission and you say forcefully, it means it don't care, this is the highest level of permission. I will do what you'll do, and you will live with the consequences after. So, yeah. It's useful and it's useful
I
and
feel
things,
like
but you have to use it.
So I feel like you should have looked up what that commanders actually do before you use it.
Well, yeah, he was little dotish, but I mean, what you gonna see? It is what it is, I guess. All right. So Lena needs to send sensitive data files to her colleague Ree. Describe 3 techniques she may use to ensure that the files are sent and received securely. So 3 things that Lena could do is, 1, she could password protect her files, right? Password protect her files in a zipped folder. 2, she could encrypt the files. Or 3, she could use a VPN, secure VPN connection to transfer the file. Okay?
Just like, yeah, she could use a VPN like NordVPN. Speaking of the video, the sponsor of this video is NordVPN.
Yeah. Nord, why Nord get another blood? Collins, you had to come real good to do that, All right. First of all, these days, because of all this online teaching, I'm not even using Linux much. Using Windows.
Not
So,
using Linux.
yeah. I'm telling you. All right. So, using Windows, this is, I suppose at some point I'll go back and see how best I could operate on this. I mean, in Linux, I'll have to use the web interface only for Teams, and I quite like the Teams app. All right. So describe the job of the following as in the OSI reference model. In your response, give an example of the network devices or protocols which operate at each That's actually funny, Zara. Which operate at each layer. So what goes on at the network layer? Shavish. Shavish. Alright, Shavish is not responding. Sule? Shavish is not responded. Yes. Network layer. What happens at the network layer, Shavish? Wow, I swear I just saw Sule inside here. Did she disconnect when I called her name? All right, so the network layer, right? Yes,
Packages
it's
are routed to a
responsible
destination. So
for
from one taking information
addressing
from one
and
place to the other.
routing, right? Is responsible for addressing and routing data packets to its intended destination. And yes, Shania is correct. The router is a layer 3 device, right? So the device is a router, and a protocol would be TCP/IP. Okay. Am I correct with that point? Right, IP, not TCP, just IP, the Internet Protocol. Okay. Your physical layer. What goes on at the physical layer? The physical layer is responsible for all
The
of the
interaction of devices
right,
with
yeah,
its medium.
tangible aspects and the interaction of devices. Right. So, for example, antennas and cables and power signals are in the domain of the physical, right? Those are in the physical layer. And the application layer, what is inside of the application layer?
How the user interacts with the software.
Right. So, right. So I don't want to focus too much on the user, but I would say how the user's applications or how the programs that wow, it just crashed on me. Right. I hope that for the most part things were saved. Right. Yes, it was saved. Right. So we have the application there. We have the user programs. How user programs can exploit the lower levels in order to achieve tasks. Okay. So like FTP software, browsers, right? IM software, etc. Okay, so all of these things are in the realm of application there. Okay? Everybody with me on that?
Yes, sir.
4 characteristics of a good password. Now, I mean, honestly, for a question like this,
Alphanumeric.
if you didn't grab these marks, you needed licks. right? It should contain a mix of letters, symbols, and numbers.
It should contain
Uh-huh.
doubles.
It should be at least 8 characters long.
It shouldn't be related to your name
But
or personal information.
should not be personal.
It
It
should not be
not
password.
be easy to guess. It shouldn't be, what was the last thing you said, Tarek?
Shouldn't be password. But
Oh,
it's the same
yeah.
thing
Well, I
as
mean, yeah, that, yeah, shouldn't be easy to guess. All right. Even though, you know, it's, even though the password itself, you know, plenty people just using the word password as a password is probably the most common password out there. Describe one technique that can be used to fix signal attenuation problems on a network. Right, so yes, you could move the router to move the router with wireless to a central location. Or you can use a signal repeater. Telecom, a small business with 5 desktop computers, a network printer, several files which needs to be shared, and access to the internet is seeking to set up a network. Draw a diagram to illustrate how this network could be constructed. Note that all computers should be able to access the printer, shared files, and the internet. So essentially what you have to have is not really a hub, but like a switch, right? A switch, and you have what we said, we have 5 desktop computers. So you can say PC1, PC2, PC3, PC4, and PC5. And then you have a network printer. So we have a printer. And then we have what? Files to be shared. So we have a file server. Okay. And we want to set up, so this is the local area network. And then we have, all computers should be able to access the printer, shared files, and the internet. So this is our internet router here. Right? This is the internet router. And the internet router is accessing the internet. Okay? So the internet router is accessing the internet. And this should be it. Okay? You know, Collins, I believe everybody saw the message. It's, you know. All right. And based on the diagram in B, briefly describe how printing, file sharing, and internet accessibility would take place. Well, printing Right? So printing, all computers could access the printer through the switch, right? Could access the network printer through the switch. File sharing, because the file server is connected to the switch, all computers could access that, access info from it. And internet accessibility, right? The internet router is connected to the switch, so all computers will have internet access. All right. What are the mobile network technologies in terms of speed from the slowest to the fastest? I have a problem. I had a problem with this question, and some of you all might see it as wrong. But actually, maybe you might have afterwards. If you see it as wrong, message me and I'll give you a mark, right? And we know that GPRS is the slowest, right? At the time of its implementation, GSM was slower than CDMA, and then LTE came along. Now, my thing is, LTE is a form, or is an evolution on the GSM system. So this question in itself is a bit foolish, in my opinion. Maybe somebody could explain it to me a little more, right? Some of you all had CDMA and GSM swapped around. Only afterwards I said I would give that as well. So if it is that when you get back in marks you have this wrong, just add your 1 mark to it, okay? But GSM was slower than CDMA at implementation. State 2 advantages of a centralized network over a decentralized network, right? Lower cost to implement and easier to administrate, right? And easier to secure. Okay, and that's questions 5 and 6. So next class we could probably take a look at questions. Next class we could probably take a look at questions 1 and 2. Anybody have any questions about what we did?
No, sir.
No.
No.
So, right. So what I'll do is I will export this and I will actually add it to the chat so that you will at least have the answers accessible. Right. We'll have the answers accessible, and BATC comes I have a 6 mock paper 2. All right. And that is it for us today.
So the school will still be open, or that like fully closed down?
Right now it's not. Right now it's not because everywhere is under mandate to close, but we will know from next week. Why? What do you need in school?